Welcome to In the Margins. I'm your host, Ralph Newell, and today we have with us Dr. Anthony Graham, Chancellor of the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Dr. Graham is just finishing up his first year at UAPB. He has an ambitious agenda around student success, AI, research, workforce development, and the university's growing role in strengthening the Arkansas Delta. We will delve into all of that. Welcome, Dr. Graham.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. I met a lot of presidents over the years of institutions, chancellors, and a lot of times I like to talk about, how they came to that role. And
Mm.
you might not be the only one, but you're the first one that I can think of or remember that started their career as a teacher, and you actually
Mm.
began as a high school English teacher. So, where does that teacher still show up in the way you lead today?
Oh, it shows up in everything I do. And before I get to that, thank you again for having me and looking forward to the conversation.
No
I
problem.
tell folks every day the work that I do is really grounded in what I learned being a classroom teacher. Um, Working with students, you always want to make certain that you are responsive to every individual that you're engaging in the classroom and outside the classroom. So it really helped me understand that you want to listen more than you talk because you want to respond to the needs of the students, and you can't treat them as monoliths. Every
Mm,
student is different. So you have to try to figure out what motivates, inspires, moves each person, and then you try to figure out how do you respond to what he or she is interested in and aspires to do. So that's part of it. The other part of it is I really learned how to leverage data in the classroom. I tell people all the time, really great teachers are phenomenal researchers. You walk in every day with the hypothesis, I believe students will learn if I do X. You have your research methodology, which is your lesson plan, and you're executing this plan and you're collecting data, assessing how students are responding, and then you look at the findings and you try to figure out how many students got it, how many students didn't get it. Now, what are the implications? What do I do differently? Would I sustain? All those types of things. So it really is about collecting data, analyzing data, responding to the data, and trying to figure out how do I reach each person where he or she may be. The other thing I'll say is it really taught me about clear, consistent, transparent communication. You have to be able to say to a person, you're doing well or you're not doing well. There's no in between, right? So I want you to figure out where you are in that paradigm so we can help move you and advance you as a learner. And finally, the last thing I'll say is I've learned as a classroom teacher and even as a leader now, it's great to have discipline knowledge. It's great to have the skills and competencies to be able to demonstrate that discipline knowledge. But the most important skill that there is
mhm.
relationship building. If people know you care and they have a relationship with you, they'll run through a wall for you. It
Right.
is all predicated upon relationships. So all of that comes to bear in what I do, whether it's chancellor or provost or department chair or whatever it might be. All the things that I do is really predicated upon what I learned being a classroom teacher.
In that first year, what did the job teach you? What did
Oh,
you learn that you didn't possibly know before you took the job?
yeah, I will tell you the two important things that it taught me.
Hmm.
Number one is patience. You come in with a preconceived notion of what people are able to do and what people want to do, and you have to realize that what you have in mind may not be what other people have in mind. So you have to find a way to connect with them, and it takes a little bit of time to get there. So it really taught me this notion of patience. And then, secondly, what it taught me is that you really, really have to pay attention to what people say but also what people do. Someone could be looking out the window in your classroom and you're thinking they're not paying attention, and you could come to a conclusion that's erroneous and incorrect. And
Hmm.
that student could very well be listening to everything you've said, but because you paid attention to what you believe is a behavior, your response might be inappropriate. So you really have to make certain that you're asking really good questions and that you're leaning into the relationships that you have with people and you're really attentive and not coming to a situation with preconceived notions, but being willing to learn in the moment. And also being able to say, hey, that didn't go well. Um,
Yeah.
we call it failure, but I call it learning. If you try
Hmm.
something and it didn't go well, it didn't go well. It's baseline. It helps you figure out what to do better moving forward. So those are the things that it really taught me. Patience, being attentive to individuals and not just having preconceived notions, and then, really trying to figure out how do I learn and get better at what I do.
Yeah. So those preconceived notions, those assumptions that we make. So what did you assume about the role that you quickly had to change?
Yeah. So I don't know if I think I came to the role
Hmm.
understanding that don't come with preconceived notions.
Okay.
Come to the role trying to learn. Don't step into the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and try to make it North Carolina A&T State University or try to
Hmm.
make it Winston-Salem State University or any other institution on earth. UAPB has its own unique identity, has its own regional context and flavor. The individuals in Arkansas and Pine Bluff and Jefferson County, they're different from folks anywhere else. My job is to come in and learn and try to be responsive to what I'm learning, and then try to ask the question, how do we get better at what we do? How do we evolve? How do we grow? How do we ensure that we're leaning into the identity and the mission and the vision of the institution? So I tried not to step in with preconceived notions. I tried to step in as a learner. And really,
Hmm.
every day I'm learning. I'm always trying to make certain I'm asking one or two really good questions every day, and then trying to figure out what does that mean for us as a community and how do we get better?
Okay. Now, when you ask these questions, who are you asking? Are you asking AI? And I say that jokingly. Um, that's, obviously one of the biggest topics in higher ed and outside today. But
Mhm.
as chancellor, how do you see AI? I mean, do you see it primarily as a technology issue or a much larger workforce and leadership challenge for you guys?
I think it's all of the above. It is a
Okay.
technology issue. It is a workforce development issue moving forward. I say to the students all the time, AI may not take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI may take your job. So for
Mhm.
me, AI, and I tried to convey this message to folks with whom I engage. And part of this, I think, is because of my background as a computer science major. I learned early on that technology is a tool. It's here to be a computer assisted instrument to help us with what we do. The greatest tool is still the mind. So it's here to support us and perhaps make things more efficient for us, but it will never replace the mind. It will never replace that individual. So we were in Atlanta this week at the Unite conference, and a Google executive said something that resonated with me because it made sense. He said,
Mhm.
artificial intelligence, you want people who have AI literacy without question, but you really want people who are problem literate. Individuals who
Mhm.
understand how to ask a really good question, frame methodology to pursue and interrogate an issue, bring people together to try to figure out how do we find solutions to these challenging real world problems, and then which tools might I access to help us pursue solutions to what those problems may be. And it could very well be Chat GPT or Claude or some other tool altogether, may not be AI whatsoever, but you really want people who are thinkers, problem
Mhm.
solvers. That to me is the greatest, I think, competency that we can help develop in people, not just the students whom we teach, but also people within our community. Are you problem literate and able to determine what's the appropriate tool methodology that I might need to use to help resolve an issue? So AI is something that obviously we have to teach. We have to ensure that we're immersing our students, our faculty, our staff, people within the community within artificial intelligence and data analytics. But I also want to make certain that we're leading all that we do with ensuring people really understand problem literacy, not solely artificial intelligence literacy.
And I mean, you guys are embracing it head on.
Hmm.
Um, Under your administration, you've responded by creating, was it the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics, or CAIDA.
Correct.
So, what did you see as the problem or need that was at the forefront that made you guys want to address the system this way?
Yeah, I would say two things really. Number one, um, people being resistant or afraid of
Hmm.
artificial intelligence. and wanting to make certain that we are exposing and immersing students first, faculty, staff, and then our community in what artificial intelligence is and what it is not. People have
Mhm.
misconceptions about what it is and what it does. So, wanting to make certain that we're, as an institution of higher education, teaching people about artificial intelligence and how you leverage it in ethical ways to help with what we're trying to do in the real world and how it can make problem solving more efficient and effective for us. So that was the initial thought process. The other thought process really was around how do you use data, which is why we have the data analytics component to it. How are you
Mhm.
using data, quantitative and qualitative, to inform your decision making and your thought process as you're seeking to solve problems? So for us, it really is about leveraging artificial intelligence data, evidence that we have, and immersing people in how you leverage these computer assisted technologies to really help us solve the problems that are real world challenges in front of us. So, wanted to make certain that we are doing our job to ensure that folks are not only comfortable with it, but leveraging it in a way that's beneficial and impactful.
What distinguishes CAIDA from any other university AI initiatives you guys may have?
Yeah, so this is really our first
Okay.
AI initiative as an institution.
Hmm.
So it distinguishes itself simply because it's our first institutional commitment to ensure that we are teaching individuals about artificial intelligence and data sciences, not only on the campus, but also in the community. I want to make certain I continue to emphasize that point. Being in rural Southeast Arkansas, there are individuals who are not familiar with artificial intelligence whatsoever and fearful of it. So we want to make certain that
Hmm.
we're able to engage and instruct and get people more comfortable with it. So now we do have individuals on the campus who have been using artificial intelligence. I'm really impressed with the research that's occurring in our
Hmm.
aquaculture space. Dr. Yatish Ramina, as an example, is doing this fantastic work with precision aquacultural innovation using AI. And so we've got pockets of AI that individuals have been using, but in terms of an institutional commitment, that's what the Center for Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics is. It gets us into an initial foray into this space.
Yeah. Okay. Now you got to help me out and help some other folks out here, us non-scientific people. You can tell us exactly what is aquaculture for those that don't know.
Yeah, so aquaculture is, think about agriculture where you're
Hmm.
studying the land and environmental, climate resilience, things of that nature for growing crops and farms and so on and so forth. Well, aquaculture is the same concept, but it's water-based. So we're
Okay.
thinking about how does um, organisms that live in oceans, lakes, rivers, whatever it may be. What are the
Hmm.
conditions that's occurring there that might be affecting the ecosystem of what's in that space? And what does that mean for healthy living? What does that mean for producing nutritious food? What does that mean for plant life? What does that mean for wildlife? So on and so forth. So it really is about studying the water ecosystem just as you would the land ecosystem in agriculture. And the great thing about UAPB is we're one of the leading institutions when it comes to aquacultural research. A lot of people don't know that about us, but I always want to make sure people really know who we are and what we do. And we do a great job in the agricultural space and
Hmm.
the aquacultural space.
Yeah. Obviously as a land grant institution, that's going to spread, into your local community there.
Hmm.
And that's one of the good things I like about what you guys are doing with CADA. It's not just a university-wide thing. You are extending it to local business educators, government, and the community as a whole. So with that, how do you see that making the Arkansas Delta become a creator of AI opportunity rather
Hmm.
than just a consumer of it?
Yeah, that's really what it's about for us. If you are a consumer, we want to make certain that you understand how to consume and what it
Hmm.
means to consume. But for us as an institution of higher education, it's always about the meaningful creation of knowledge and how we can expand knowledge base and skill set. So for us, using AI to help produce knowledge. I go back to what Dr. Ramina is doing with his aquaculture research, where he has and his team
Mhm.
has built a lot of this artificial intelligence research that they're doing from the ground up by hand. But it's informing them on uh, shrimp life and what we can do to help shrimps grow and detecting early disease or things of that nature that might impact shrimp and fish and producing knowledge, sharing that information with other institutions that are in this aquacultural space and individuals who are working in Arkansas, Southeast United States, the world about what it means to leverage these technologies so that we are really informing better practice, if you will, around the world. That's what this is about. That's what's so beautiful about it.
With that in mind, you're talking about research and stuff you guys are doing in aquaculture. I know there's some other things we were reading about. I'm sure we'll talk about later that you guys are doing with rice. We're talking about a lot of research,
Hmm.
and I know one of the goals for you guys for UAPB is to get the Carnegie R2 designation.
Hmm.
So, for our listeners outside of higher ed, what does Carnegie R2 designation actually mean, and why
Hmm.
is it so important to UAPB?
Yeah, so I'll begin by saying for us, the R2 designation, it's not the destination that we're after, and
Hmm.
I'll get to that in a second. It's a byproduct of what we're attempting to do at the institution. But to become a research two institution, what it essentially means is that you are meeting two criteria. Number one, it means that on an annual basis, you are investing at least $5 million into your research and development infrastructure or your apparatus, what you're doing in that research and development space. The second criterion focuses on how many research doctoral students are you producing per year. So you have to meet both criteria, and that research doctoral production is about producing 20 research doctorates per year. So are you investing at least $5 million dollars in your R&D apparatus? And are you annually graduating 20 research doctorates from your institution? So
Hmm.
that's the definition, if you will. So why
Hmm.
is that important? What's the big deal here? Two things for me. Number one, the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis has this really neat graph that they've been keeping since I think 1988. And it shows the median wealth attainment by educational level. And
Hmm.
what you see over time, and it hasn't changed in almost 40 years, is that the educational credential that an individual has separates them in terms of their wealth attainment over the course of their lifetime. So there is a significant gap between a person with an associate's degree and a person with a baccalaureate degree. Then there's an
Right.
even more significant gap between a person with a baccalaureate degree and an individual who has a post-baccalaureate degree. So whether it's a law degree, med
Hmm.
degree, whatever it may be, master's degree, PhD. The reason that's important for me is number one, you hear a lot of people say or question, is a college degree worth it? Well, this
Hmm.
data point shows us quantitatively, conclusively, that yes, it is very much worth it. There's return on investment in getting a baccalaureate degree. There's even more return on investment earning a post-baccalaureate credential of some sort. The
Right.
other thing that it suggests to me is for a historically black college and university, and for all of our HBCUs, quite honestly, whose mission is predicated upon social and economic mobility, we want to ensure that we are positioning our students and our alumni to earn a baccalaureate degree and then, to the extent practicable, a post-baccalaureate credential because it feeds into the mission of positioning our students for social and economic mobility. So that is the first reason why it's important to me. The second reason it's important is because it commits us to doing what we're supposed to do as a land grant institution. And that's ensuring that we are engaged in quality teaching, that we're engaged in extension work out in the community, and we're engaged in research. So taking what we're learning theoretically in the research space and then applying it so that we're making life better for people, and then taking what we're learning in application, feeding it back into the classroom so that we're teaching our students on how to take what they've learned and apply it. And then they're asking good questions, so they're now involved in the research, and it becomes this perpetual, circuitous process of
Hmm.
teaching, research, extension, extension, research, teaching. That's why it's important. This research two designation, the research one designation, it really ensures that we're doing what we're obligated to do as an institution of higher education, helping to solve real world problems and making society better.
Yeah, if it was easy, right? Obviously, everybody would have the designation. So,
Very true.
for you guys to get there, what institutional transformation has to occur?
Yeah, a number of things, and we're engaged in a lot of that work right now as we're asking some very difficult questions. Number one, you have to ask yourself the question, do we have the right academic degree programs at the
Hmm.
institution that really respond to the needs of society today, but more importantly, where society is going tomorrow? We have to anticipate where things are going. So that's the first question. And that then means you may have to shutter some of the programs that we've been offering for 20, 30, 40 years, programs that people have an affinity for, but may not be as relevant today. And you have to have the courage to say it's time to move in a different direction and invest in degree programs that really advance the needle, if you will. The second question that we have to ask ourselves is, as it relates to the research doctoral programs, what are the needs of the region? What are the needs of the state? And how do we ensure that we're responding to those problems that are really plaguing us and have historically plagued us? And how are we preparing individuals who are problem literate, individuals who can step into society and ask really good questions and then begin to formulate plans, galvanizing others to address those issues so that we're working to solve those issues while preparing the future workforce for higher education concurrently. So it is about academic degree program curriculum transformation. It's about elevating the profile of the faculty that we have on the campus. It's about being responsive to the needs of the state and the region and ensuring that we are preparing individuals who could step into society who are problem literate, asking really good questions and carrying forward research activity to explore and interrogate what are the solutions to these issues. So we're having to do a lot of soul searching, and we're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions moving forward to ensure that UAPB is at the forefront of this work and what needs to occur to make our state, quite honestly.
I don't want to put you in a box or get you in trouble, but
Sure.
so when I hear you, you talk about, hey, we might have to get rid of some, my words here, legacy programs. I mean, are
Mhm.
you at liberty to say like what areas are you thinking about?
At the
That too
moment,
premature?
no, because we are making certain that everything is data informed. So we are
Hmm.
going through a very rigorous methodology, looking at our data, looking at, yes, student credit hours that have been completed, graduation rates, enrollment rates, all those types of things. But we're making certain that we are being very mindful of not only institutional data, but what does the workforce data tell us? What tells us what's happening in society? It really is putting together a jigsaw puzzle and then pinpointing which degree programs do we want to continue to invest? Which degree programs do we need to bring to bear? Which degree programs aren't serving us well? The truth of the matter is we can't be everything to everyone. We have to make
Hmm.
certain that we are clear on who we are, that we are mission driven, and that we are taking the very finite set of resources that we have and appropriating them in a responsible way that makes us better at what we do. And if we spread ourselves too thin, then we can't do that work at an optimal level. So, not at liberty at the moment to say which degree programs are under consideration. But what I would tell you is all degree programs have been placed on the table and they're
Hmm.
all going through this rigorous process. So when we get to the back end of the conversation, we've treated every degree program fairly.
Yeah. Now, I didn't want us to hang up and people banging on your door later today. You're ready to
Which will
cut my
happen.
program. You talked about $5 million of investment, if you will, into research. And a
Mhm.
lot of research dollars, came from the federal government. And, with the
Yeah.
current administration, a lot of those investment dollars aren't there, or there's so many strings tied to it that some
Mhm.
institutions don't want it. I would assume that was part of your plan. Hey, we'll get some federal grants from this and then some private, but where is the investment and the dollars going to come from to help, fund this change?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we still continue to be very much engaged in procuring federal research dollars. One of the
Hmm.
great things is a lot of the research that we do at UAPB and the research we'll be doing moving forward really focuses on what are the societal issues of the nation. So we still believe that we will be very active in procuring federal research dollars. However, we've learned a very valuable lesson. We can't be wholly dependent on federal
Hmm.
research dollars. So we've gotten a little bit better at working more with our corporate partners. We've gotten a little bit better working more effectively with our elected officials, state and locally. We've gotten a little bit better identifying individual donors who have the means and the interest and thinking more about not just one individual donor, but how do you bring together 7 or 8 donors who might have the
Hmm.
means, who may be interested not in a discipline, but in a problem. And that's where we're going as an institution. There was a time where we spent a lot of time talking about interdisciplinary research, getting
Hmm.
disciplines to work together. Now we're talking about transdisciplinary research. The focus is on the problem. If we're
Hmm.
wanting to address food insecurity, it's not just going to be the folks in agriculture. It's going to be the people in business. It's going to be the people in health sciences. We've got to bring all these different folks to the table, not only on the campus, but also within the community, corporate sector, and beyond, and get people in the same room so we can ask ourselves, how do we solve this issue of food insecurity in Southeast Arkansas, Southern Arkansas, the state of Arkansas? So it really is a thinking more about braided funding as opposed to just being wholly dependent upon one source. And that's where we're going. That's where we are at present. And we're going to have to get better at it moving forward, where we're bringing different types of people into the room to focus on this transdisciplinarity.
Hmm. Hmm. So you're looking at that collaboration internally, but externally.
Definitely.
This year, I think earlier this year, we had 15 HBCUs came together and launched the
Mhm.
Association of HBCU Research Institutions. I know you guys aren't currently one of the founding members,
Yeah.
but where do you see this collaboration going with HBCUs, and what does that movement mean for, I think our society and for your graduates?
Yeah, I love what's happening amongst our HBCUs. So in this example, you have all of the research to HBCUs, currently classified research to institutions coming together, saying we're going to work in a collaborative way and we're going to move the agenda forward, not only on the campus of every HBCU within this collaborative, but
Hmm.
collectively, because it's going to benefit where we are within our geographic region, but it's also going to benefit the nation and the world. So the answer moving forward is really ensuring that our HBCUs and institutions writ large, just not our
Hmm.
HBCUs, that
Hmm.
we're working much more collaboratively and in partnership with each other. Yes, we're in competition in terms of trying to recruit students and retain students on our campus and so forth. But in order for us to really solve the issues that are plaguing our society, we have to be in a more collaborative partnership posture. And that's what we're seeing. I will tell you, amongst the 1890 land grant institutions, there are 19 of us, and we've been part of this 1890 land grant family for a long
Hmm.
time. We do a lot of work collectively and collaboratively to ensure that we're pushing forward the land grant identity and the work that we do in this space. So it's imperative that our institutions work much more collaboratively together, again, to solve problems. That's what we're after here. We're here to solve problems and find solutions and prepare individuals who can help drive us rectifying some of these issues. So I love what I'm seeing. That was part of the conversation at the Unite conference,
Hmm.
sponsored by the UNCF earlier this week in Atlanta, bringing together HBCUs from across the nation to ask ourselves, what are the problems and how do we work much more collaboratively and closely so that we are indeed united to
Hmm.
rectify some of these issues.
Yeah. Um, I won't say the last thing, but
Mhm.
the you know the research and the thing that you're doing, obviously, I know the goal and mission with you all is to help the Arkansas Delta. And
Mhm.
one of the, now let me ask you this. How does this fit in? Rice. I know it's
Yeah.
grown in water. So is that agriculture or aquaculture?
It depends on who you ask.
Kind of crossing both.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the rice brand study that you guys are doing, it obviously connects Arkansas agriculture with the possible health and commercial applications. So
Mhm.
what does that work reveal about the research identity that you want to build at UAPB?
Yeah, so you talked about the research benefiting Arkansas and the Arkansas Delta region,
Hmm.
but I would say the research we're doing benefits the world. A lot of people don't realize that Arkansas is the nation's leading rice producing state. We grow half of all of the rice in the United States and rice that goes across the world. So in this space, we're impacting the nation and the world. With this particular study with Dr. Deveron, he's found this anti-aging component in rice and how this component can really help with our aging process. And that's the type of research that's occurring at UAPB, and I would argue across all of our 1890 land grant institutions. This very cutting edge, eye-opening research that has significant impact on health, significant impact on aging, significant impact on human science altogether. And that's what's occurring at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff and across the nation at our land grant institutions. It's amazing research that sometimes goes under the radar.
Hmm.
Sometimes we may not be the very best at getting the message out because we've got our heads down working. So we've got to do a better job communicating what it is we're doing and the impact, the implications of what we do. Because obviously, as we're learning with this rice investigation, if there are anti-aging components to rice, then that's going to impact everybody on the face of
Hmm.
God's green earth. So how do we ensure that people are apprised and privy to what the implications are, and what does it mean about rice consumption and things of that nature? So fantastic, phenomenal research occurring at our institution, but I would argue occurring across all of our 1890 institutions.
I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking about the rice and man, like, you tell people they eat rice, they can live longer, et cetera. Obviously,
Mhm.
you know what that'll do. So with the research that you're doing there with rice and maybe other things that you guys are working on or then incubation or looking ahead, um, do you foresee ability to with some of these things for it to lead to commercialization of this stuff or new
Absolutely.
partnerships?
Absolutely. So when you start talking about opportunities to generate revenue for the institution,
Hmm.
in many ways, over time, particularly for those institutions that are state supported, like we are in Arkansas, you become so dependent on waiting for money from the state. And
Hmm.
over years, the amount of funding coming to institutions from the state has dwindled significantly. So now you have to become a lot more entrepreneurial in your thinking and trying to determine how do we do what we do absent the funding that we receive from state. So this is a space where for us at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, we have to become more comfortable getting into this space of tech transfer and so forth, where we are commercializing the research that we are producing and what we're learning and the patents and things of that nature, and how that then spins off into small business, so on and so forth. So it is a new space for us. It would be a new world for us, but it's a world that we have to enter and we have to get comfortable quickly. And as I've shared with others, we have to be willing to learn quickly. Some people will say fail quickly, but I would say learn quickly.
Hmm.
You step into the space and you begin to learn as quickly as you can, understanding there are going to be a lot of mistakes, but you're going to learn from those mistakes and it's going to get us where we need to be downrange. But yes, this is an opportunity to generate revenue through commercialization that will help our students because we'll be able to offer more scholarships, more work study opportunities, and so forth. We'll be able to benefit our faculty who are doing the work because they'll profit from the work they're doing. And then you're also benefiting the economic region. You're able to hire more people and get them involved in the work that we're doing. So commercialization is something we can't be afraid of in higher education. It's something we have to lean into very aggressively.
Okay. At the end of the day, your job, the institution's job is to better your students, get them to graduate, get the jobs and all that. Every institution says they're all about student success. It's a priority. But how do you define it beyond just enrollment and graduation numbers?
Yeah, for me, student success exists in five buckets. I try to keep things simple and easy.
Hmm.
Um, there is a bucket that focuses on, yes, the enrollment rates,
Hmm.
the persistence rates, the completion rates. But there's also the bucket that focuses on student preparedness. Are we positioning you post graduation for what it is you want to do in your life? Have we, in a very intentional design throughout the matriculation of your time with us at the university, have we exposed you via internships, co-op experiences, whatever it may be, study abroad, critical thinking opportunities, problem solving opportunities, opportunities to strengthen your interpersonal communication skills? Have we helped prepare you in a global way for what you're trying to do? And then the final bucket for me really focuses a little bit more on, yes, technical skills. We want you to know your discipline. We want you to have the durable skills. We want you to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, and those types of things. But we also want to make certain that you have the problem literacy that we talked about earlier. Do you
Hmm.
have the ability to leverage different types of tools to solve problems that exist? So to me, yes, it's about being in the classroom and all the graduation rates, completion rates, all those types of things. But it's also external to the classroom. How are we exposing you to other people? How are we helping you with your problem solving skills, your critical thinking, your interpersonal communications? And then how are we addressing your leadership acumen? How are we helping you with your ability to work with others and all those types of things? So that to me is what student success is about. It's one of the things I learned being a classroom teacher. Your job is to prepare the whole person. Yes, we want you to be sharp academically, but what good is it for you to be sharp academically, but you don't have these durable skills and the ability to work with people, the ability to listen, the ability to admit when you've made a mistake and you need to learn from it? Our job is to prepare the whole person. It's holistic education. That's student success for me.
Yeah. HBCUs have always been known for um, the personal support and the personal relationships they develop with their students.
Mhm.
But how do you mentioned data earlier. So how do you use data to identify students who need that support without losing that personal relationship with them?
Yeah, again, for me, the data is a tool to help
Hmm.
you deepen the relationship. But so it all starts with the relationship. It all starts with sitting and talking and engaging and getting to know, and that person getting to know me and all those types of things. And then
Hmm.
I'm able to use data, maybe data that I was able to pull and extract before I even sat with you.
Right.
And I've got an idea of who you are and what the data tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. Now the conversation will verify and affirm some things, may challenge some things. And then as we engage you in what we do across our curriculum, we're using data and we've gotten so sophisticated now where we can collect data on you every day. We can, with your ID card, if you're swiping into a classroom or you're swiping to the gym or we can figure out where you're going or if you're going anywhere at all. If you're staying in your
Hmm.
residence halls, we can figure out, are you attending your classes and how frequently you're attending your classes? And if you're not, we can deploy resources to address whatever the challenge may be, or we can deploy resources to sustain the behavior that we want to
Hmm.
see from you. So it really is about using the data to help us figure out how to respond to what the needs are, but never sacrificing the relationship. That is what's been fantastic in my 26-year career on the campuses of our HBCUs. We never lose sight of what's important. It is about relationship rapport building. We want you to know how much we care about you. Otherwise, nothing really matters. We can challenge you all we want, but if you don't know we care about you, then that challenge may not mean as much. So I love that we can use the data as a tool to help support the student progression, but we never sacrifice the relationship.
Yeah. One of the successful programs I understand at UAPB is your Pride Rises. So that's the
Mhm.
initiative that brings together advising, technology, transfer pathways, adult learners, and data informed intervention. So that program, what problem is that strategy intended to solve?
Yeah, the big problem is how do we ensure that we are recruiting, enrolling, retaining, graduating our students in a 4-year window or fewer?
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm challenging us to start thinking about how do we get students out quicker than 4 years? How are we using the calendar throughout the academic year, making certain that students are gaining the knowledge and the skill set and the dispositions they need to be successful. But we want to make certain that these individuals are leaving the institution in 4 years or fewer. So the Pride Rises opportunity came from the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, and
Okay.
it's underwritten by the Lilly Foundation. And for us, it's really about ensuring that we are being responsive to the needs of the students, but also proactively anticipating what the students may need. So you talked earlier about how do we use data to make decisions and things of that nature, where before students even arrive on campus, we're now using data and asking ourselves which students might be most vulnerable of having challenge at the institution based on what the data might tell us. And what can we do right now before they arrive to ensure that we are circumventing that challenge to the extent we
Hmm.
can? So the Pride Rises initiative really is intended to help ensure that we are modernizing our ecosystem at the institution, that we're using artificial intelligence and other types of data analytics and data science supports to do our job at a much more optimal level so that students are more successful before they step on campus, while they're on campus, and then once they've left the campus. And it's ensuring that the institution continues to rise as being one of these great institutions in the United States of America that serves our students at a very high level.
When you were a student, when I was a student, my mother was a student, every generation it changes.
Mhm.
And everybody and everything has to adjust with the change. But from where you're sitting right now, where do you think higher ed in general has, I don't want to say failed to adjust, but where have they not caught up yet with today's students?
Yeah, I would say in many ways, our students are coming to us much more sophisticated in
Hmm.
terms of knowledge of the world, that the access because of technology, their access to information 24/7, 365 and a quarter. They're
Right.
coming to us with a lot more information. Now, the information may not be valid. They may
Hmm.
not be questioning and being judicious with respect to determining what's accurate, what's inaccurate. So while they're coming with more information, more data, our job is now to try to help them tease out what's true and what's not true. And how do you go about doing that? What questions do you ask? And so on and so forth. But also ensuring that we are positioned to learn from what the students are bringing with them onto the campus.
Hmm.
In this space of AI, for example, so many of our students are so far ahead of us, and I say us meaning administrators, faculty, and staff, with respect
Hmm.
to their AI knowledge and their ability to use AI. So rather than trying to, squelch their use of AI and saying you can't use that here, no, we want you to use it. As a matter of fact, we want you to teach us how to use it.
Right,
So,
right, right.
so how do we, as an institution, become more responsive and be willing to let the reins go so that the students are taking the lead sometimes in this space of learning and teaching us, and then we teach them, and it becomes a reciprocal process that's relational in nature. So really being able to move in a very agile way and being able to let things go from the past so that we can be more responsive to where we need to go in the future. I think that's always been a challenge for higher education. the willingness to let go of some things and
Mm,
anticipating where we're going and trying to get there quickly. Being comfortable with learning fast. I won't say failing fast, but learning
mhm.
fast. It's okay to experiment and see what we can learn as quickly as we can and then move forward. So, in some ways, I think in higher education, we have always been um, guilty of perfection. We want everything
Right.
to be perfect. And sometimes perfection isn't the goal. It really is about learning, it's experimentation, it's getting where you need to go more quickly. And that's where we have to ensure that our institutions are moving and going, that we're willing to learn fast, understanding that there are going to be mistakes along the way.
Yeah. I mean, as we've talked, I mean, I think that one thing, everything we seem to talk about becomes sort of interrelated. We talked
Mhm,
about, leadership and AI, research and workforce development, and student success. Um, on their own, they're all separate initiatives, but
mhm,
they seem to be connected to a larger goal of making UAPB, I'm say a center for or engine for innovation and economic
mhm,
development throughout the Arkansas Delta.
mhm.
Would you say that's a fair description of what your vision is for the institution?
It is, as I've said to the campus, our destination is becoming a nationally recognized preeminent land grant institution.
Hmm.
That all sounds great. Someone might ask, what does that mean? It really is about serving as what I call the tie to the region, TIE. And that's an acronym for me about talent, innovation, and economic renewal. How do we ensure that we are attracting new talent to the campus, not only students, but also faculty, staff, administrators, while also cultivating the talent that currently exists on the campus? In doing so, we're now bringing more innovation potential to the region. So we're bringing individuals and we're cultivating the talent we have, helping them become more entrepreneurial in their thinking, helping them leverage the types of tools, AI, data sciences, and so forth. And in that space, as we're testing ideas and we're learning and we're getting better and expanding knowledge creation, now we're helping to ensure that we're creating economic opportunities that will buoy the region. So to me, uh, it really is about ensuring that the institution serves as this galvanizing um, organization that brings people together so that we're all learning. It's not just about the students, it's about all of us learning. And in learning, we're getting better and becoming more innovative and creative. And then that spurs different thoughts and ideas that will essentially buoy what we do in the economic realm. So it really is about lifting all people so that the region thrives, which then means the state will thrive. And if the state's thriving, that then means the southeastern United States is thriving, which then means the nation is thriving. And if the nation is thriving, then it means the world is thriving. So it
Yeah.
seems like a very simple concept, but it really, really is a very meaningful, impactful thing.
And when we look at that impact, you're right. It could go from the campus to the Delta to the region to the state to the nation to the country. I mean, to the world. Um, but when in the short run, what what is your goal? What does it look like for the residents of the Delta? How will things be different from them? How do you want them experiencing life differently, let's say 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Yeah, so a couple things. Number one, hopefully we're seeing more um, business opportunities emerge in the region, and some of those businesses coming from not only our graduates, who we hope are beginning to plant the seeds of what those businesses look like while they're on the campus with us, learning about the entrepreneurial spirit and what goes into business planning and those types of things, but us also connecting with and engaging with people in the city, in the county, in the region, helping them think through what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? What does it mean to be a business person? So on and so forth. And then the business opportunities then means that we're able to retain more of the talent within the region that now is likely leaving the region, and not only leaving the region, but leaving the state. So we're not
Mm.
able to retain that talent, which then impacts our economic ability. So it really is about creating opportunity, building the opportunity, ensuring that the talent stays within the region, within the state. And as the talent stays within the region and the state, then that means the economy prospers for the region and the state. So it's critically important that we are successful with the work that we do. And I would argue not only at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, but across all of our regional institutions, our private institutions, our public institutions, small, medium, large, all of our institutions must be successful in this space because in many ways we really do drive what happens with respect to the economic vitality of our regions and states.
Yeah. So what do you think you need to see maybe in 5, 10 years to realize that this vision has become a reality?
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see a number of metrics. Number one, as an institution, we're graduating more people with
Mhm.
degrees that really resonate with where we're going as a society. Number two, we're seeing more employment opportunities emerge for the region and well-paying opportunities that position people for social and economic mobility. We're
Mhm.
seeing um, more people working together to help solve the problems that are
Right.
plaguing us within the region, within the state. So those are the types of things, if you kind of had a checklist and you start
Mhm.
going through the checklist, I wouldn't even say 5 years from now, that checklist starts right now. And we're able
Okay.
to assess and monitor how are we doing with regard to the work that we're aspiring to achieve here? And what do we need to do to course correct? What do we need to do to get better? And the most important thing to me is, understanding that we're not doing this work by ourselves. We're not in a silo. We can't and shouldn't do it by ourselves. This is the city's work. This is the county's work. This is
Mhm.
the region's work. This is the state's work. This is the nation's work. So it's imperative that we are really bringing others to the table and we're willing to go to the table where others are so we can ensure we're doing this work at a high level.
What I hear from you, the glass is definitely half full. So
Absolutely.
what gives you all that optimism?
Because I really believe in the power of people and the power of partnerships. And we have a history that shows us what happens over 250 years when you really believe in the democratic process of access and what it does with respect to education and how it buoys and moves people forward. And the more educated we are, the more likely we are to test assumptions and challenge things, but work together and listen to one another. The power of people who really do believe in what can happen when you're willing to work together and solve problems. That's what gives me the optimism that I have. And I don't think you can really do this work in education if you don't believe that that is the outcome.
Okay. Last question. So if you're looking ahead in the future and the I don't want to say the story is done because it's never done,
Mhm.
but your time has ended at Pine Bluff and
Mhm.
you're leaving on a chariot. What do you want the headline to say in the retrospective piece that we write about you?
Um, we believed in the vision and mission of the institution. We were willing to compete, but we were also willing to collaborate. And because we were willing to learn fast, we moved the needle and positioned our students, the university, the city, the county, the state, the region in a different place that makes us all better. If that happens and when that happens, then I would have done my job. We would have done our collective job.
Yeah, okay. Now we can't put all that in the headline, but I like it.
We
All
can make
right,
a
Doc.
long headline.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.